Right, we're up to full quota again this week. It's 2 or 3 weeks in a row, that is. So we're doing well. Don't have to make any excuses up for the other 2 or the other 3 or however many drop off.
No one's in rehab yet.
No. It's only a matter of time. But if you've listened to last week's podcast, you know that this week's film is Ghostbusters 2. Bit of a random generator mechanism we used to do that. And we've held off, I think, doing Ghostbusters 2 for a little while. We did the first one, and I think there was, quite an overall feeling that we would highly recommend the film. So this would be an interesting conversation. I did think it was going to be a mirror of the first first film podcast that we did, and everyone would be happy with it. But after our group chat earlier on WhatsApp, I'm not so sure anymore. So I as always, I'll start with with my memories of it, and I love this film. I love probably. Do I love it as much as the first one? Probably not, but it's highly up there, and I think it's because when did this come out? 89. I would have been 8, possibly going on 9 or 7, going on 8. So I remember this one coming. I didn't see it in the cinema, but I do remember it coming out on VHS. And one real vivid memory that I've got of it, my sister entered a competition and she won the soundtrack to Ghostbusters 2 on LP. And I didn't have a record player at the time, but my sister did. And I used to love sneaking into her room and playing this. So fond memories of this film. I haven't probably seen it for 10 years easily. And the beginning, I definitely have not seen probably for even maybe 20 years. So this would be an interesting conversation. Ev, what about your memories of it?
I was going to ask before I get into that, how many songs was on that LP? Because surely there's only about 4 proper songs in the entire film.
It had I'll dig it up in a minute, but it felt like a full soundtrack. Probably 10, 11. Because Bobby Brown's got about 3 songs, I think, in the movie.
Well, you've got that. You've got that Ghostbusters rap song at the end.
Yeah, the Run DMC one.
Yeah.
There's 10 songs on the track listing.
10.
Yeah.
Just scrapes an album.
I think he must be in there again, Ray Parker Jr., because they sing that, don't they? He's not in it, is he?
No, he's not.
Because they sing it, don't they, when they're children's entertainers.
You got a couple of songs from Bobby Brown. Then you got Run DMC, Elton John's in there. Glenn Fry.
Elton John, what song is he doing in there?
He's got Love is a Cannibal. I don't know where that is.
I only ever remember the Bobby Brown song. And I'll be honest, I was listening to it the other day, and I really don't like the rap or the verse bits. Or the verses bit, sorry. But when it hits the chorus, I think it's a banging tune.
I think On Our Own is a great song. It's a great song.
Yeah, but it's no saving the day, though, is it? Or Magic either.
I'll give you Saving the Day. Magic, I think On Our Own is better than that.
I'm going to try and find the LP cover now.
Don't know about that, mind.
Please.
Magic's a weird song, though.
Yeah, but that's what makes it good, and especially the bit in the first one where the song is playing over, with obviously all the slow long shots of Sigourney Weaver in the apartment block, and the purple lights going across the sky and stuff.
The windswept and interesting.
I'm with you. I'm with Evan on this. I love that song. I think that's the best song in the entire franchise of it all. It's great.
What, Magic?
Just for the montage scene, I love that bit with the ghost machine is they unhatch all of the ghosts. It's great, that bit is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share my screen for a moment just so you can see the LP cover.
Is this for number 2?
This is for number 2, yeah. Can you see that?
Oh Oh,
Yeah.
And I remember the back as soon as I saw it a moment ago. That picture of Janine and Lois or Lewis at the bottom. our mate Jason.
Oh, good old dribbler.
This is the one film I think it looks like him the most.
Yeah.
You know when he's running through the streets with the with the proton pack on, he's got like ear muffs on. They're not even ear defenders. They're like just keep his ears warm. He's 100% looks like our mate Jason.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Um.
Go on, then, Ed.
Oh yeah.
Ev.
Yeah. Go on. Yeah. No. Like I said in the first Ghostbusters pod when we did that, I had this on the VHS, and it was both films back to back with a 1930s episode of Batman plus 3 John G. Avildsen trailers.
Oh, so was it one VHS or was it a double VHS?
No, one VHS. So you had the first Ghostbusters, then you had the 1930s episode of Batman. Then you had trailers for Karate Kid 3 and a film called The Bear, both by John G. Avildsen. And then you had Ghostbusters 2.
That must have been one hell of a...
Are you sure that episode was on there? Because I remember the double bill with the trailers. I don't remember the episode though.
No, it was definitely on there because it was a black and white one, and I remember he was Batman was strapped to some like dynamite in a plane or something at the end, and it was basically like it left on a cliffhanger.
It was the one where he fought a shark, was it?
Fought a shark? No, it's not even the Adam West one. This is way before that.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, I put this on for the kids the other day, and I don't know, they got bored, whereas they enjoyed the first film, but they didn't know what was going on in the second one, and it was some parts which, you know, there's I didn't realize before, but there's a lot of filler in this film. More, you know, and compared to the first one seemed to flow really well. This one, it was yeah, a bit fillery and a bit cheesy for me.
It's nowhere near as tight as the first film.
No.
It does try and follow a similar sort of structure, though. Do you think? You know, that it's, you know, they're at the beginning, they're struggling. You know, in this case, they're former Ghostbusters. They don't do that anymore. Then there's an incident that brings them to the limelight. They then have the successful period. They're back again, TV adverts, blah, blah, blah. Then there's a boss, let's put it that way. If you're doing a gaming sort of scenario, an enemy at the end. And okay, I'm not saying that's a structure that's only to Ghostbusters, but it does try to mirror the first film to a certain degree.
Have you read any of the backstory about the second film?
Not a huge amount, no.
Originally, the idea was to take it abroad, and they were going to have it set in Scotland.
Wow.
And there was going to be some sort of time travel portal. And when they step through the time travel portal, it takes 3 days to get across or something, the portal. I'm just saying stuff I remember from what I read now, but it seemed like a very, very weird film. But if you remember, the first film was supposed to be the original script was going to be really different and weird, wasn't it?
It was going to be, it was going to be like more supernatural in the sense of across dimensions.
Yeah.
But it was going to be so expensive they couldn't make it work.
Yeah, apparently Dan Aykroyd said about the second film now, he said that after contemplating what he wanted to do, he said, actually, there's no reason for us to take it out of New York. New York is basically Ghostbusters. So that's why they changed it again and they kept it where it was.
Yeah, and I'm glad they did.
Yeah. Is it? No, I think it. Yeah, I quite like. I would set in the familiar spaces, but I thought this was very cheesy compared to the first one as well.
But do you know why? Can I tell you the reason why it's cheesy? First Ghostbusters came out in 1984. This came out in 1989, 5 years later. And what happened in between that? You had the
Cartoon.
real Ghostbusters cartoon. So if you notice in this film, a lot of the ghosts are a little bit more cartoonish, right? So take Slimer out of the equation. But if you think back to the first film and you think about some of the ghosts, they're like skeletons or corpses. You know, you think about the taxi driver, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got that. But in this film, they tend to be a little bit more
Cartoony.
Yeah.
Mm.
And what's his name? Dan Aykroyd has said this as well, that they changed the humor slightly in this and they had less adult themes. It was less sexual innuendos. If you think about the first film, he has a bloody blowjob off a ghost.
Yeah.
So you know, there's less of that. So it was purposely sort of done to be a little bit more cheesy and aim more towards children.
Yeah. It was. I think I'm not sure Dan Aykroyd wanted it that way, but I know that they had a directive from the studio to incorporate some of the cartoon aspects into the film.
It's why Slimer's back in it.
Hmm.
And
I mean,
he lives in the firehouse, doesn't he?
yeah, that bit I didn't mind, but it was just like there's like one line in particular where they've been released from the mental hospital, and it's like the exposition dump, if you call it that, when they finally figured out what Vigo wants with the baby and stuff like that, and then Winston says this throwaway line saying, "Oh, and I bet we're the only ones who can do anything about it," or something like that, and it's like, really, come on,
Saving the day, isn't he?
Yeah, but they had to give Ernie Hudson a line, didn't they?
Well, I'll talk about this in some of my changes later, but I feel for Ernie Hudson across the entire franchise. He gets called, doesn't he?
Well, even the cartoon. He actually wanted to voice Winston in the cartoon, but he chose someone else.
But do you know why they chose someone else? Because the people didn't think he sounded like Winston.
Yeah.
That was the excuse they gave him. Ridiculous.
Oh,
Hardcore.
What about you, Ad? Memories of it?
Yeah. Well, it's really weird watching it back because I grew up as a kid. I loved Ghostbusters as a kid. I loved the cartoon, loved the films. I even loved this one when I was young. But I used to have this tape. It's really weird watching it back because I had this taped off TV of ITV1. And whenever I watch this film now, I always expect the adverts to come on in certain bits. For example, when that bit when the mayor's like, "Somebody get me the Ghostbusters" at the end, I always think the adverts are going to start, but it doesn't. It goes to the next scene. So there's loads of bits. Do you ever had that?
Yeah,
no.
That's a really good sort of like flashback. That is because there's so many films I used to have, and you knew exactly when the adverts were going to about to start.
For me, it's Die Hard. Do you know when he says "Yippee-ki-yay"?
Yeah.
On ITV, they always cut straight after he said "Yippee-ki-yay" and disappeared through the door. They always had an ad break there.
And the vent scene where it's like, "Come out to the coast, we get together," and it goes do 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 loo 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 loo, and then it goes, goes off to break.
The little things would come up in the corner here or whatever if it was ITV.
The little black and white thing. Yeah, you know when it's coming. But I had like quite intense as well. I'll tell you what else I had of this when I was a kid. I used to have the movie book of this as well. Not like a novel, but like it was just like a book with all the stills from the film made for kids. And it was just like you could read, it's like in this scene, and it's like, and then the Ghostbusters had to go to the courthouse. And then this evil Scaleri brothers came back. It was just like, and then it was like this little, like what I mean, those kids' books you get, which are they're like hardback, like that thin. And I remember having that book of this as well.
It's almost like a follow along, isn't it? I think.
Pretty much. I had one. I had loads of them when I was a kid. I had one for Ghostbusters 2, The Lion King, and Aladdin.
I'm surprised you didn't have one for RoboCop, Ad.
They didn't make them for them. But I just used to have those sort of books. I had them for other films as well, but only like kids films. But yeah, that kind of shows how much of it aimed at kids this film was. About there was things like that out. And yeah, I used to love the Ghostbusters when I was a kid, and used to love this film. Emphasizing the word "used to," but on the term "used to," but we'll get back to that as we go into the podcast.
Can I just follow up on something that we were quickly talking about? The ad breaks in films.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to say this because it's on my mind now. Has anyone noticed how f***ing useless people are now, or the channels are, at when to interrupt the film with an ad break? Have you noticed that these days? Terrible. I don't know whether it's just a machine doing it on allotted times, but they seem to go right in the middle of a scene or like an exciting incident or an important point.
It's really bad for movies, definitely. I can't comment too much on TV series because I don't tend to watch a lot. But
I wonder whether back in the day you had to have someone on hand, didn't you, to like push buttons and get the ads on. I don't think you could schedule it. Whereas now, I think it's all programmed into the computer, and the computer is just monotonous with the timing. So it's like it doesn't matter where in the film it is, the ads are going on.
I was watching a film last night. It's really, what a coincidence you say about it. And I purposely was like, why have they just cut that bit? And I'm racking my brains now to try and find, or try and remember which film it was. It'll come back to me. But it was like, why have you cut to that? Oh, Italian Job, right? It was the minis going through the street and everything. And I was like, yeah, here we go. The music's about to kick in. And they went to an ad break. So like halfway through that. And I was just like, what's going on?
In the middle of the chase?
Yeah. So the chase lasts for about 5 minutes before the music kicks in. But I was all ready for the minis in the subway, in like the sewer. Yeah, it's Self-Preservation Society, isn't it? And and I was just like, I turned it off. I was so disgusted I couldn't watch the rest of the film.
just having an absolute rage.
He's writing a strongly worded letter to Anne Robinson on Points of View.
I didn't even know what channel it was. But like, it wouldn't be Points of View, would it? Because it's BBC. But, I was half expected to like just pull the TV down.
I don't get like the entertainment news halfway through films now. What's the point in that?
We know when they hit like 10 o'clock and they got to have like 3 minutes entertainment news or update, don't they? Yeah, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Prog, what about your memories of this film?
I watched this quite a lot when I was younger. I think I probably watched this film more than the first one when I was younger. I can't recall the first time I watched it, but I do know that, like Ev, I remember the double video, and I'm pretty sure my cousin had it. But I remember really enjoying it when I was younger, and I think it was off the back of the cartoon. So I'm wondering whether I liked this more than the first one when I was younger because of the cartoon element.
Yeah.
But I still enjoy it now, but I enjoy it now for different reasons than when I was younger.
I always preferred the first one when I was a kid, but I think the reason why is because the first one was always so much more rare when I was a kid because I never found it on TV, but I used to rent it from my video shop. Whenever I had the chance to rent the first one, I would rent it from there. And for whatever reason, I just never had it on tape, the first one. So I always remember the first one was a bit more like sought after because I was like, oh, that's the great one because of all of the better monsters and stuff in it.
That's the Holy Grail.
But I'd seen it a few times, but I just remember I would rent it from the video shop and watch it like 3 or 4 or 5 times while I had it on rent and then have to give it back to the video shop.
I can't pretend to be that cool, unfortunately. When I was younger, I preferred the second one. It's only when I matured did I realise how golden the first film was.
You saw the folly of your ways.
I did, but yeah.
I just always thought the first one had more like this is Kid Adam talking now. I know much more about why it's better now, but like with the first one, I always thought it was just more scary when I was a kid and more like I always thought the monsters were better in it, and that's why I liked him. I was like, oh, it always felt like a bit more like an 18 or something. The first one did because I was like, oh, that one's a bit more. That one's got a bit more edge to it.
Got more. It's definitely more fear factor with the first one. I would say more horror elements. I was going to ask, Lord, do you think the second one? I don't know if you agree with this, but I wonder whether the second one's got more slapstick humor.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think the dialogue's a bit more slapstick as well.
Well, we'll get on to the dialogue because there is some of the dialogue I really, really like in this second film. But in terms of the visual comedy, I think there's more in the second one, and I wonder whether that's why I preferred it to the first one.
I think so, and I think it's going back off what we said earlier about that. You know, there's clearly a shift towards it being more suitable for an audience that watch the cartoon as well.
Yeah.
Go on, then let's move on to favorite aspect, and I'm going to throw it out there. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So I got two things. Number one, I just really like being in the company of those characters again. So
I agree.
That is still why I enjoy this film. I know what Evan said about, it's a lot of filler, but because it's those characters, I'm all on board with it. I would happily watch 10 one-hour episodes of those characters doing absolutely nothing. And I can't tell you, I think it's because we've already expressed our admiration for Dan Aykroyd on this podcast before, but I really like those characters interplaying with each other. And I prefer Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver in this film than I do to the first film.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of the dynamic of the characters. Whether you like how the characters are set up in this film or not is up to you. But I like that she's almost the one that's got control over what's happening, and he is just trying to get back in with her. And I like that aspect. The second point I like as well is I actually really like some of the dialogue gags, and I think they really underplayed. And I wonder whether that's why I like them so much. So there's, do you know the scene where they all go to Dana's apartment to do the tests on the baby?
Yeah.
And Peter just barges in, and he tries to bluff her, doesn't he? Saying, "I'll give us one last chance," and she's like saying stuff, and he's like, his face is to the camera, so she can't see him, but he's cringing because he knows he's in the wrong. And then he picks up that bass, or her bass, and he just starts playing it like a bass guitar and starts making faces and stuff. I just love the subtlety of some of the gags in this film. That's all.
I'll sort of jump on that, and there's a lot of double acts in this movie, more than what you get in the first one. I think you have Dana and Peter, you have Janine and Lewis, sorry, but then you also have Egon and Ray, and those two, I think, spend quite a lot of time on camera together, and that's my favorite aspect. I think those two together, I'm not saying they make the film, but they make me smile throughout the film. And
Sorry?
What's that, sorry? What?
Which two?
Egon and Ray.
Right, yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, sorry if I said something else. Yeah, Egon and Ray. So yeah, those two together, I think, have some brilliant scenes, or they have some great dialogue anyway. The one thing I was going to mention earlier, and it's sort of linked to what we said about the changing it towards the cartoon, Janine. Not Janine, what's her name? Yeah, it is Janine. Her she looks more like the character in the cartoon than what she does in the first film.
Yeah, she does, yeah.
So yeah, there's my favorite aspect. Just those two. I think they're brilliant. And also Egon's hair. It's got bigger. It grows in the 5 years. It's huge. It reminded me of a young Andrew Owen at about the age of 13. But
was that pre or post Ryan Giggs mop top?
I can't remember. I think it might have been pre.
Yeah,
it was like
Ryan Giggs mop top was when you were the fastest boy in school, whenever.
It was like my Hey Arnold days, but it wasn't Hey Arnold. It was his black mate with the big hair.
Hold the phone. You had like Ryan Giggs like mop.
Well, sort of. Didn't last very long.
It was full on, man.
With an undercut as well.
Soul Glow times it was.
Have you got any photo evidence of this? I'm shocked. I've never seen this before.
I to be honest, there's not many photos of me as a teenager. I don't know if the prog's the same, but like, yeah, I don't know what my family did, but they didn't take photographs.
Same
when
year.
I was that age.
I was talking to my friends about this last time. There's not many photos of me when I was a teenager either. There's only like there's like a pile of photos of me throughout my entire childhood. Like that's like this big, this thick, and then I think that's what it's like for people, us guys, before the internet and camera phones came out. It's just, you have a handful and that's it, really. These days,
that anticipation of putting your photos in to be developed and then waiting however many days for them to come back to find out they're all shit.
I think there's, I think probably like you guys have got kids. There's probably more photographs of one day in one of your baby's lives than there is of my entire childhood.
Yeah.
And that's not a lie, is it? It's true. I mean, like, this is how it goes. I mean,
do you think that's got to do with because you were put off by the amount of time it would have taken to have them? What's the word?
Developed.
Yeah, sorry.
Do you know what? I thought you were going to say, do you think that was put off by the fact I had shit hair? That's where I thought you were going to go with that.
Well, can I just say now, I am glad there's not that many photos of me from between the age of 13 and 17, because I was an absolute mess at that time.
You had curtains at one point as well, didn't you?
But that was before I was that was up until 13, and then when I was 13, my parents decided to give me a 1940s side parting. They plopped some Deirdre Barlow glasses on me. And it's also when I had my growth spurt, so I looked like the skinny alien at the end of Close Encounters when it comes out of the bloody spaceship. When I say mess, I was a mess at that age.
Oh, I don't think any of us were with my fucking curly curtains and.
What about that? That was your prime.
I don't know about
that. You were the fastest boy at school. You had the Raya Giggs haircut. And then your hamstrings popped, didn't they? And you shaved your head. I
was just about to say, I had all the girls in school. And then I remembered I went to an all-boys school.
I can't say much. I had proper Oasis mop hair. It was terrible, honestly. It was
what about you, Ad? I imagine you've had long hair at one point.
He did. Oh, yeah. I've seen the photos.
I used to have very long hair, yeah. I used to have it down to there and stuff when I was younger. Yeah,
really?
I used to have proper long hair, yeah, but up until I was about like in my 20s, like my mid-20s, I was probably like that. I didn't start having like, I would dip in between though, because my hair grows really fast. So like I would dip between having like short hair and like very long hair and stuff. But now these days I always have it quite short now because
when did you start growing a beard, Dad?
I could grow a beard from when I was 14. That's when I could start growing.
From the age of 5 when I started watching RoboCop.
But 14, 15.
No, because I will say Adam's family are one of the hairiest families I've ever met. So
yeah, we are a hairy family. Yeah, but I remember I started growing my first beard hair when I was about like 14, 15, and then I just always had like this sort of like I can grow my beard a lot more if I wanted to, but I always kind of shave it down and have this sort of length basically. But
you said the other day, didn't you, that if you shave in the morning, you get the 5 o'clock shadow at about 5 o'clock in the day, don't you?
Well, everyone gets that, don't they? I mean, Andrew, you could probably grow a beard. Like, you've got some good stuff.
Yeah, I was talking to someone about this the other day. It definitely doesn't grow as much as it used to. But obviously, again on a bit now. But I used to have that scenario. Like Homer Simpson used to shave, didn't he? And then it'd come back straight away. It felt like it used to do that for me, but
you get about like. I always get about like an hour or two of it just being smooth. I'm like, oh, this is amazing, man. Like I could just felt all the bristly bits come back in, and I start looking, oh, it is.
I'm gonna put my face to the camera there.
Prog's been growing that for 40 years.
It's been a week and a half since I had a shave, and that's as much as I can get.
Yeah. This is probably about a month.
Yeah, be a ginger as well.
Yeah,
I know that's the thing. That's the thing. I got salt and pepper hair, like Pierce Brosnan up top, and then I've got Billy Hacksaw Jim Duggan facial hair. Terrible.
I'd say your bottom half's more like the lead singer of Metallica.
Yeah,
Oh no! Oh no! No! I wish it was, because I tried for Movember once to do a handlebar, and the worst thing was I tried to do it all the way down to here, but these bits there don't grow as fast as these or there. So it was literally like no man's land. It get to here, there was just bare skin, and then a bit of hair down here. I look like
You
a
got
fucking...
dimples.
Have I? I don't know. Have I?
I don't know what. You were fit.
He's not. Yeah, he's not 5 years old anymore.
I got fat cheeks. If that counts.
Favorite
What was your
aspect
pick?
for you, Ev?
I'd sorry. Did you want to go first? Or
No, I was about to
you
say, what was
did
your favorite? I was about to
Oh,
ask
sorry.
the same question.
Yeah, there's a few. I've wrote them down. I quite this got a very 90s theme, early 90s theme, like the way it's shot and the the score reminds us a lot of ER and Ally McBeal.
Is that because of Janos?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, Peter McNichol. That's him.
Peter McNichol is great in this film.
Why isn't my drippings with goo?
Yeah.
And then Vigo the Carpathian, he's done very well for himself. Graduating from Hans Gruber's henchman to a full blown tyrant overlord.
Yeah, he doesn't get his
Max
real
von
voice
Sydow.
in it though, does he?
No,
Max von Sydow, isn't it?
yeah.
Which is a bit
Also,
weird.
I'm going to go through the cast here. Sorry, Brog. There's a lot of good supporting actors. Harris Yulin, the judge. Yeah, he's from Scarface, amongst other things. Max von Sydow, yeah. Bobby Brown as well, makes a cameo.
Is he he's like a doorman or a chauffeur driver or something,
Yeah,
isn't he?
The doorman at the Mears, I think.
I'm wondering if my boy's on your list. Go on, keep going, Ev, if you've got any more.
And also a young Jason Reitman at the start at the start of the film.
He-Man.
No mention for Cheech Marine.
Oh, I was good. That's on me. That's on me list. Cheech Marin, yeah. Despite the Titanic.
You've
Peter
got
McNichol as well. No, sorry. Kurt Fuller as well, I meant.
Kurt Fuller, yeah.
Great
you've
cameo
also
from
got
Ernie
Brian
Hudson as well.
Doyle Murphy as well.
Oh yeah,
Ad. Great say it again, Ad.
Go on, sorry.
There's a great cameo from Ernie Hudson in this as well. It might as well be a cameo. Barely in it.
No, just like Praga, I love the characters in Ghostbusters. I think it's I said there was a lot of filler in this film, and I was, when I watched it last, obviously with the kids, they saw it more than what I did, but still, I love the characters.
So I've just read as well. Sorry to go back on that, Ev. That Eugene Levy is in this film, but I don't remember seeing him in it. So
Neither do I. Maybe he's on the deleted scenes, because they released the deleted scenes again, didn't they? Like last year with the new fancy 4K box set of it all and stuff. So you could probably get it on.
I tell you, there's another woman, right? Do you know when Peter at the very beginning is doing his TV show?
Yeah.
And he brings on those two guests, doesn't he? Who is the woman? Does anyone know? I recognize her.
Twins.
Oh yes, twins. Is
it Danny DeVito's
girlfriend?
No.
Yeah.
But I can see why. Ivan Reitman filmed that around the same time, didn't he? Twins. So you probably just
Look at Andrew's mind, boys.
I am blown away. I got to find out her name. But I'm so glad.
It's Louise Troy.
Oh, I'm so glad someone was able to put that together.
Oh, no, not Louise Troy. Sorry, Chloe Webb. That's her name, Chloe Webb. I
gotta say, Prog, you know what? You know how you were saying about some of the jokes were like underplayed. There's a joke, and I've just got it because I googled the reference. Basically, when they're all hanging out in Ray's occult books before Peter finds out it's Dana Barrett, they're working on it, and he says, "Hi Egon, how's school?" And he says about the science chicks digging his large cranium, and then Egon just comes out and says, "Oh, I think they're more interested in my epididymis."
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I didn't know what it was, and I had to Google it. I was like, and It's
Come on,
narrow,
Ev, you got to tell
tightly
me what it is.
a narrow, tightly coiled tube that is attached to each of the testicles.
Oh, all right.
Do you know Egon's got another good joke in the beginning as well? Do you know when Dana goes to see him after the pram's gone nuts?
Yeah.
And he's testing. He's got that thing to test emotions on people, hasn't he? And she says, "How's Peter? Does he ask about me?" And she's facing away from him, and he says no. And he puts that meter up to her to test how her reaction is to see if she's depressed because he said no.
Ah, I know. I never noticed that.
Those are the little like underplayed gags that I really like this film for.
Ad, what's your favourite aspect?
Okay. So before I go into this, okay, I just want to preface this now by saying, right, I wanted to listen to your guys' favorite aspects just about stamping on everyone this. So this is me about to refute some of like what you guys are saying. Also, I also know about like Ghostbusters 2, along with the other is that, you know, the special films people, right? So I just want to make people know, but this is only my opinion. If you like Ghostbusters, that's fine. There's no issues at all. But this is just what I think about Ghostbusters, right? I hate number 2. I hate this film so fucking much, man. Right? I don't have any favorite scenes or any favorite aspects of this film at all. And the reason is because I love the first one so much. I think the first one is like a perfect movie, right? So anything in this film, like anything in this film just doesn't work for me at all, because at the end of the first film, after they defeat Marshmallow Man and they're in the middle of New York covered in marshmallow, they are the heroes in that scene. That's it. They are champions, right? And I want them to have a happy ending and just this great thing. But number 2, you're in this world where like people just forgot about Marshmallow Man. Can you imagine if Marshmallow Man happened in reality? Like, go on, Prog.
Are we picking nits now?
No, I'm just saying about this right now. This is my criticism, right? But I'm just saying, like, I just hate the fact that like there's so much of a logic. I used to love this film when I was younger, and then I remember I got to about 18 or 19 years old, and I started to really see the cracks in this film. And every time I've gone back and watched this film, I it a bit more. And today, when that's why I couldn't hold back on the group chat earlier. I was like frothing at the mouth. I was like, it pisses me off so much. I'm like, I don't know. I just can't bear this film at all. I think it's awful. And that's to the strengths of the first film. I reckon it would have been much better, this film, if they had just kept them as being successful, and like I know that, but there's that film thing where they're like, oh, we have to have them back down to rock bottom again, and we need to have them have a rise up again. Why? Why can't he just make them all like extremely? They did it in the cartoon. In the cartoon, they were like celebrated heroes in the cartoon. That worked. Why can't they do in the second film? They want to make him more like the cartoon, but they just forget that aspect. That's my rant. But there's more to come as well as this goes on.
Can I ask? I don't think this was deliberate in the film, but is it? Could you read it? That the slime and the sludge that they find. Is it possible that, because that's apparently indicative of all the bad feeling of the city, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it possible that the way that the Ghostbusters are treated for those 5 years is reflected with that build-up of sludge and goo and stuff? And like that's a representation of how New York feels about them. I'm just saying now, I do not think that. I do not think that's why it was written. I'm just asking, could it possibly be seen that way?
It's just the whole thing, like, because the thing is with Ghostbusters, right? I know that there's goofy ghosts and stuff in it, but the thing with the first Ghostbusters that I always really loved was that it's so grounded, and that like they're these schlubby exterminator kind of guys that are like busting ghosts, right? But then, so basically, it's just I find it really hard to like. It's I get some feedback on the recording. I find it really weird to believe, right, that basically after the Marshmallow Man was about to destroy, I think they were going to destroy the world in the first Ghostbusters, and these 4 guys, these 4 everymen saved New York City. The things like people are like, oh, they're like delusional. Oh, let's put him in a psych ward. Like, what are you talking about? The judge is all like, oh, these ghosts and stuff. And then it just the film infuriates me. It absolutely infuriates me. This movie does. I can't stand it. It's like, it's just this awful movie. Like, sorry, but I could rant about this this film for hours. But like, I don't find any of it funny because it just pisses me off. Every scene of it just pisses me off so much. Yeah, it's just one of those ones.
Was this payback for you getting me to watch? What was that bloody dog film you got me to watch?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Well, this is
making me sit through the first 3 Friday the 13th films.
Yeah, but the Friday the 13th films, they know where they are. Like, they're not Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is like this. I don't know how to describe, man. It's just, and again, like I said, if you like this film, that's cool. Like, I know that people can switch that off and they can enjoy it for, it just being a comedy film. But it's just my love for the first one. I love the ending and the way the structure of the first one is. And people always say, oh, this one's loads like the first film, but it's not loads like the first film because it kind of portrays the first film sort of like really clever lightning in a bottle approach for this really, really humdrum sort of like crap comedy rom-com thing. And like, oh, sorry, I'll keep most of this for changes, but I can rant about this for ages.
In fairness, right? I think we could have a proper 2-hour discussion about what you think is wrong with this film.
Yeah.
Because I know there are some things that you're going to say that I'm going to agree with, but there's other things that I could say, actually, I think if you looked at it this way, it makes sense.
I think the thing is though, the reason I don't get, like, obviously a good reason not to get too annoyed about it though is that, like, I with me, I always, because I watch Ghostbusters 1 a few times a year. It's one of those films I rewatch and rewatch and rewatch, and I've always had it on DVD or Blu-ray, and I have it on 4K now as well. But like, I just kind of watched Ghostbusters 1 and just, when I finished it, I was like, that's the end of this film. I just pretend number 2 doesn't exist or Afterlife doesn't exist. I just think that's it. There's only one movie.
What do you think of Afterlife?
Well,
we went to the cinema. I thought you liked that one.
It's okay. It's better than number 2. It's way better than number 2. But I just like the fact that, like, it's just, I just like to imagine it's just number 1 and that's it. Like, and you can just imagine that after number 1, Peter gets with Dana. They all go off to be successful Ghostbusters. They get out of the financial hole they were in the beginning. But this one is just, I find it really depressing that it's just like, this is dragging back down to the. And I'm just like, no, man, fuck that. They're the heroes.
Are you taking that in between the 2 films? So at the end of the first one, all the sort of paranormal activity dries up. There's nothing else. Yeah,
because they saved the world, but they would still be celebrated. They'd be like heroes for it. They'd be like university lecturers. They'd be like these, like, they'd be like, if they were in Britain, they'd be knighted and stuff. That's a big thing to do.
Can I just say though, I agree. I understand what you're saying, and I think what this film is saying though is that there is that American culture of negativity, isn't there, where they wouldn't believe it, or some people wouldn't believe it, and as is described in the blog for the film, some people would sue them for the damage that they caused, rather than saying thank you very much for saving us.
Yeah, but like that, see that, no, when they were getting sued, right? That thing about them being sued. I mean, I just don't. That's another thing that annoys me, because I'm just like, I know that could happen, right? But I'm just like, well, what would you have rathered? Your building gets squashed by a marshmallow man. What's the alternative there?
I get what you're saying, right? But that's a fault with individual people, isn't it? I wouldn't lay that as a fault of the film as such.
But the other thing you said about there was going to be like an alternate version where they went to Scotland and went to a time machine, I would have been on board for that. I mean, even if it wasn't as good as number 1, at least they're continuing on doing something different. I don't like the fact it's just New York again. I'm like, oh, what? It's just like, I'd rather have been completely different, or just had them being like these, like, because I think there's a lot of funny stuff you could have done if they were like these, like, if they were dealing with ego and stuff as well. They do it a bit with Peter Venkman in the beginning, but he's like the same in the first one anyway. So I don't know. It's just my opinion. And also, I think it's really slack how they didn't really cast. They didn't really give Ernie Hudson much things to do, because I really like Ernie Hudson, and I thought that was a bit harsh.
I'm sure that's going to come up with all 4 of us.
Yeah, but yeah. That's my fault. But we'll go into it more as we go into the podcast.
Well,
Are
then
you sure you're going to need to say anything else after that?
I'll probably be agreeing with the changes.
So I'm assuming, as Adam's already said, that he's not going to give forward a favorite scene. So, Prog, what have you got?
So, as I said before, I like the scene where all the main three go to visit Dana for the first time, and Peter reintroduces himself. I do like that. I like the interplay in that scene and some of the subtle comedy. It's weird. I really like the small scenes in this film rather than the bigger set pieces. I think I come back to it. I think it's to do with the fact that I just like the characters and I don't really need them to do a lot.
Yeah.
So do you know when they're all talking around that toaster?
Yeah.
And they're all like, they're doing their experiments and showing the results, but they're also having a laugh and a joke about it. To me, that's just like if I was with a few of my mates, not necessarily doing that, but like if I was with my mates and we were just talking about random stuff, those are the scenes that I really like in this film.
Can I ask, what do you think of the scenes with Janine and Lewis?
I can hate them, but move on.
Yeah.
Why do you hate them?
I can't stand that relationship.
Is it because you felt that she should have been with Egon?
Yes.
She looks. I gotta give it to Annie Potts though. She looks lovely in this film. She is really.
Annie Potts looks lovely in both films.
No, more so in the second one though. She looks. I will say, she does look gorgeous in this film.
I really like Annie Potts. Right, I think she's a very good actor. Sorry, let me say, I really like Rick Moranis as well. He's obviously a great comedy actor. I like the both of them, but I think what they did with her character in this film was a disservice to how they treated her in the first film. Because she liked Egon in the first film. And at the end of the first film, she was embracing Egon and he seemed to reciprocate a little bit. And then in the second film, it's almost, it struck me, right, as if it was a case of, we're getting the characters back. We want Rick Moranis back, but we haven't got anything for him to do apart from that opening scene he's in where he's their lawyer. Right? Which is, again, I don't mind. I quite like that scene. I think he's quite funny in that scene. But apart from that scene, he wouldn't have had anything to do in the film. So it's almost like they wrote stuff in for Rick Moranis. And it's like, I'll tell you what, let's have him go on a date with Janine. And she's all over him from the start. And it just, to me, that's the bit of the film where I'm like, that's one of the bits of the film where I'm just like, nah, sorry, I'm not on board with that. It doesn't make sense.
In the cartoon, they're sort of not together, but they flirt a lot, don't they? Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Janine and Egon.
Yeah. I thought
she
did.
She definitely fancies him, in the cartoons.
Yeah.
But this is the thing though. Going back to what I was saying here, if they kind of made the second film and they were like heroes and stuff in it and stuff, and like they were like it was built up on the first one, you could have still had Rick Moranis in it because the guy turned into a dog in the first film, so they could have had like scenes where he's like on the news and stuff and being like, oh yeah, I was a dog at one point. He could have been involved with him a little bit because of he went through such a weird paranormal experience. And not many people turn into a dog and back again,
But again, no, in '89, isn't he like a really big actor?
Yeah.
He's a big comedy. He's a comedy name in '89, isn't he? He's had like a lot of films under his belt. So that's why I know what you're saying, where they could have brought him in like to a few different scenes. But I think what they wanted to do was give him a bigger role. And that's why they wrote his character the way they have in this film.
Imagine if they in an alternative universe, so they did the film my way. Imagine if Lewis Tully in number 2 was like, now he managed to catch some sort of celebrity from being a dog for 2 minutes, and he's now acting in a Hollywood movie about his life, and it's called like Dog Man or something. And well, I don't know, it's just weird shit like that. You could see what I mean? He could have
sold a novel, My Life as a Dog.
Yeah, I should have written Ghostbusters 2. I'm telling you right now, there's a better film coming up in my mind right now, and it's damn right funnier. I'll tell you that right now.
Or he had a bit of Nutty Professor about him. where he could communicate with dogs.
Or imagine if, second one, him and Dana are together because of like they have some sort of like link after like the events
Frog
of like.
would never have allowed that.
I'm only winding you up, but like
Lewis Tully is not a romancer.
You could have had him just as their accountant or like
you've had
their business manager or whatever.
once you've had a bit of dog in you, but you might make me more.
Are you speaking from personal experience there, you?
No, I just thought about like Lewis Tully. Like it could have given him a bit of a, could have given him a bit of like a bit of a boost, like you know what I mean. But
A nice bit of rough.
Never know. Those dogs are sniffing around each other when they were like, no, who's the dog? It's him and Dana's not a dog, is she?
Yeah, Dana's the other dog. Yeah,
it is Dana's. And then of course. Sorry, it's Zool and a mind fart then. But yeah.
Ev, what about your favorite scene? Oh, you're off, Ev.
You're on mute, Dev.
Oh, can you hear us now?
Yeah, there you are.
You hear me now?
See. Can you hear me now? Yeah, hear me now? I'm on the bus. Hey! Phoenix Nights joke for you, for all those listeners or viewers. No, like Prog, I haven't really got one in particular that stands out. Like just the dialogue between the four main characters, really. But it's funny what you were saying about the relationship between Janine and Lewis. That bit where she's putting the little crystal ball in between her legs. Oh, I had a few glances from the kids when they were watching that bit. She's like, "What's she doing that for?" I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Fast forward. Yeah.
I do. What I will say about Janine and Lewis Tully though, that bit when Dana comes home and like obviously he's been motorboating on her because her top's undone, and like as soon as she goes into the other room, they just start pounding again on that sofa, straight back into it. So Lewis Tully's, I think he did have a bit of that dog about him because he's a animal in this film, but he doesn't care. Like absolute shagger is Lewis Tully in this one. Like so, he's in there. Like he is that crystal ball.
So once the walls come down, it's just a tidal wave of raunchiness, is it?
He has that taste.
Yeah,
he has that taste.
Well,
yeah.
we all remember being virgins and in our teens, don't we? And once we get that taste, it's just
If they had made Ghostbusters 3, they should have just gone, I need to play Lewis Tully in the third one. Just got all out.
I would love to watch a Ghostbusters film with Arnie as Lewis Tully.
Like, hello, Janine. Just like he just becomes that. Oh, spell a bit too, man. He just becomes that afterwards. Like so.
I've just got mental images of him in the first one going, "Hello, everyone. This is Ted and Annette Fleming."
Yeah, just an absolute like legend. Like,
does anyone want to play Podcheesy?
Similar to Frog and Ev, I can't really say one particular scene, but it's probably any that includes Dan Aykroyd and what's his name? Egon.
Harold Ramis.
So any of those two. I think Adam's going to have a big problem with this scene, and you might bring it up later. But I quite like the humor that's in the train scene, the ghost train scene. But Adam is going to have some issues with that one as well. I think it's more the fact that Dan Aykroyd does that sort of over the top type of acting. Yeah. But in this case, it's Ernie Hudson does it, and I'm not saying like I really enjoyed it, but I just found it slightly different. And then Dan Aykroyd just appears from nowhere because he's found the river, hasn't he, or what have you?
Can I just say now, Adam has had an issue with everything we've said about this film so far, but he needed a 5-minute vent halfway through the podcast so he could make it to the end.
That's right. Like I said, it's just one of those things about it. It's just personal opinion, but like this film it's just one of those films that just always. I loved it. I loved it when I was a kid. I watched it all the time, like all the Ghostbusters stuff. But it's just one of those ones I've just over the years I've just disliked and disliked and disliked and disliked a bit more and a bit more. And it's one of those films that's probably when I was 10, when I was about a kid, I would have given this a 10 out of 10. And it's just over the years just gone down.
So let's talk about your argument here about the train and the Titanic.
Yeah.
And I believe your argument is that you can get, you can forgive the ghost element of it when it's a person, but not an actual inanimate object like a boat or a train. That can't be a ghost.
Well, how could a train have a ghost? I mean, it means that the train was alive, and it's ridiculous. Like, it just makes no sense.
I'm gonna say one thing now. Right? In the first film, you had a giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Are you honestly telling me you can't get on board with a ghost train or a ghost ship after that?
Yeah, but in all fairness, in defense of the Marshmallow Man, that wasn't the ghost at that point. It was from the paranormal power of Zool that brought up Marshmallow Man from Ray's mind. So like that.
But you said the key word there, though. You said a key word for me anyway. A key word. You said paranormal. Yeah, and to me, paranormal means anything goes.
Come on, I mean that's like a train. I mean that's okay. It's like me dropping this cup and having a ghost coming back and seeing a ghost
otherwise, though,
around in the room. It makes no sense.
They'd all be naked because none of their
so there's no ghost clothes.
Yeah,
but there's no ghost period, right? Okay, but like obviously the films are PG, right? So they have to put clothes on the ghost. But the other thing with Ghostbusters is the ghosts are all over the place in these films anyway. So maybe I was just being a bit cranky because I don't get the ghosts in Ghostbusters anyway. Because one minute you'll have like a ghost, but then you'll have like a monster thing like Slimer.
Yeah.
Like what are they?
Well, Slimer's always been an anomaly, isn't he? In the fact that he's not.
He's not the only one though.
Yeah.
There's loads of ghosts like that in Ghostbusters. Like even the first one has it as well.
All right then. About your argument with the ghost train though. What about Christine, the car?
Well, that's not a ghost car. That's just like a car that's alive, isn't it? That's just, and also, you know,
are you saying Christine and Ghostbusters are the same universe?
They are the same universe, yeah. As of right now, Christine and Ghostbusters are the same universe, but that makes sense in that one because that's a paranormal killer car that works. I just find it. I was like, what? Why is it a ghost train? Like, what the hell is going on? But also, there's no danger from the ghosts anyway because they just like he was fine when he Winston. He didn't even hurt by that, was he? He was just
no.
He had PTSD after that, though. Come on.
But it goes into that whole the thing. This one being more kidified. I mean, the first one, you know, I know it's not like the biggest horror film ever, but like there's actual threat and danger in the first one. I mean, the end of the world is looming. Like I love the scene. I know there shouldn't be 11 for the first one, but it's got really good stuff in it. Like the scene with Winston and Ray are in the car driving and they're talking about doomsday and stuff. And then there's more. You really and like the first one is so much better. Like it all comes together. Like they don't even have the fire station in the second one. I noticed.
No, they do.
It's barely in it. They have it like once or twice. They just got on the pole, don't they? But in the first one, like it's all so tightly crafted. I mean, like the way that the ghost machines opened up and like, so it's sorry. This is just going to turn into a loving for number one now. But yeah, it's just more my issues with the second one.
The other thing you'll notice between 1 and 2 is none of them smoke in the second one.
No.
And again, that comes back to this being more child friendly, isn't it?
Ray doesn't get blown by any ghosts as well.
That's scene from number 1.
I love your idea of like you can't have a ghost train, but it's okay to give a blowjob.
When I was a kid, right, I had no idea what that was in that bit. I was like, I remember as a kid being like,
it wasn't until we did the podcast that I put 2 and 2 together. What are you on about?
When I was a kid,
when I saw the deleted scene, because that's like even worse than deleted scene.
When I was a kid, right, I actually thought he weed himself. I'm not joking, right? Because you see his trousers coming down, and then it cuts to him, and he's obviously coming, right? But like when I was a kid, I thought he was like that face. I didn't know what an O face was. I thought he was peeing himself. So when I was a kid,
you thought he'd been holding it in for hours, and it's just like, instant relief.
That's what I thought when I was a kid. I was like, he weed himself. But as I got older, I was like, no, your innocent mind slips away. I was like, no, he's just hardcore coming in a ghost's face there. But it's just how it goes. Like, sorry to make you people out, but.
If he's ejaculated in a ghost's face, it's just going to go all over himself, isn't it?
I know. Unless
there's no substance to a ghost.
Unless the ghost was able to hold the ejaculate and then Ray's cum was just floating around.
Yeah, but the ghost
Afterwards.
wouldn't be able to absorb that. It would just pass through the ghost.
Yeah, it would have just gone. It would have just kind of went. It would have been that sort.
Yeah, it would have gone.
Andrew's
straight through.
gonna have a field day cutting around this stuff in the podcast.
I've given up.
Oh, please
editing.
keep all this in. Please keep all this. Is
I'm
gold.
pretty sure ejaculate's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fine. As long as you don't say so, you're okay.
Oh, too late now.
Have you marked this down on your notebook, Ad? That's what time this is.
Just you know what? Those two words I wouldn't edit out. C bombs and F bombs I tend to, but yeah. So that one I would.
I am trying to cut down on them. I do notice that they get cut out of the gosh. I'm like always like, oh fudge. I'm swearing a bit too much this.
That's what I need because I'm really lazy with the editing. I don't like put a beep in or anything. I just make that section quiet. So what I need to do now is record us saying certain other words like fudge or fudging.
Yeah.
And I'll just put them in over it.
I'm happy to try and replace my or try and use the other F word, fudge.
Yeah.
Flip.
I think that's a good replacement.
What section of this film are we on right now? What bit we talk about?
Well, I was just about to say, should we just move on to changes?
Well,
I think
what I will say.
Oh,
what I am going to say really quick about favorite scenes. When I was a kid, my favorite scene was the courthouse scene. When I was a little kid, I used to love that bit when I was a kid. We can move on now. So I'm just going to say, so I can give some sort of inputs into this part of it.
So yeah, over to changes. I think one of the ones we should discuss now is Ernie Hudson, and why they don't give him as much anymore. It'd be interesting to see some deleted scenes because I haven't, whether he has any more, screen time in that. But it is a shame that
I know the answer to this.
What?
Racism.
Really?
No, just joking.
Well, I thought you might have been, true.
It's just brilliant.
Can I just say now, Adam just said that. So why you took him serious? I'll never know.
I know. The boy you cried wolf, and I honestly don't know where to believe him half the time now.
But the thing is, I love Winston in the first film. Brilliant in it, and I love the way he comes in at the midway section. He really grows into. He's kind of like that odd one out, and he grows into like being part of the Ghostbusters.
Where he says my favorite line in the first one, where there's a bit where he's what's he say? I've seen stuff that'll turn you white or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the way he delivers that is brilliant.
I've always really liked Ernie Hudson. He's a great actor, but they just really, really underuse him in this. But there's all these scenes when it's just Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd. So I'm always like, why don't you just chuck Ernie Hudson in one of these scenes? Chuck him in.
The thing is, though, in the first film, it was meant to be Eddie Murphy was the main character, wasn't he? It was meant to be Eddie Murphy was going to be the wisecracker in place of Peter Venkman, in place of
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray. So if Eddie Murphy had been in the first one, he would have been in the second one, and he would have been the Bill Murray in the second one. But what happened was they couldn't get Eddie Murphy didn't want to do it, so they got Bill Murray in instead. So they had to change the character. They had to switch the characters around, didn't they?
Kind of happy that happened as well. I mean, I love Eddie. I love Eddie Murphy, but like, I don't think the film would be the same with Eddie Murphy in it. I mean, the first one, and that's from a hardened Eddie Murphy fan. I love like all of his films from the 80s and 90s. But
he's too wisecracking, isn't he?
You need Bill Murray. Bill Murray's just better.
Bill Murray's really dry and dour. And
no, first of all, I think Eddie Murphy's a better actor than Bill Murray, but I think Bill Murray's better for that part. Is what I meant. Like, he's better for that role. He just needs.
That's how I took it anyway. But
it's just, what I mean. He just because he's kind of, you buy him as you just buy him as like this like guy. You just buy him as this guy that's just really faking it into being a scientist, even though he's just doing it to try and get Fanny. Pretty much, that's what he's doing, and that's pretty much what Venkman's all about. Like, did you like him on Changes now? Like you said about him and Dana in this film. Didn't you find Dana a bit annoying in parts in this film? Like a bit all over the place, as in like I hated the fact that like they did that thing where they retconned it so they're not together anymore. So within 5 years they had this relationship where they were going to get married. Eventually went and had a kid with someone. Eventually split up with him. But then sometimes her urgent need to try and find out what this slime's all about is just that. Like the bit when they're going out to dinner and the three other Ghostbusters like catch him as they're about to go in a taxi, and Peter's all like, "Oh, do you want to go and find out more about the slime right now? You know, the stuff that's trying to kill your kid, or do you want to go for dinner?" And she's just all like, "Taxi," and I'm just like, "What the fuck?" Like,
Yeah,
what's
but
going on?
that's because she's employed the Ghostbusters to find out about it, isn't it?
Yeah, but they need Venkman at that point. There's no like oh my god from her or anything. It's just like
Yeah, but
she's like, okay, my baby that's not with me right now. F that. And I
yeah,
want to go
but
to dinner,
that leads to one of the great lines of the film
which is
when Venkman says to her, "Do you want to go with them and blow this dinner off?" And she goes taxi, and he turns around to the boys and he goes like, "Ah, women, huh?"
I hated that stuff. But like I just again it's that thing. I just hate the fact that him and Dana are like split up. I hate all the reset
I
stuff.
gotta be honest, I quite like that about the film.
Because like I'm just like they did this 50 billion times better in the first film. Like why?
Why is she not playing music anymore? What's the reason in the film? Can anyone remember?
Yeah, she followed her husband around, didn't she? And then she had the kid with him. She gave up the music to have the baby.
All right.
So in order to get a job, she got a job at the museum, a part-time job at the museum. But she does say at the beginning of the film she's going to start taking up the music again.
I knew there was something I couldn't remember. I love the fact that she was a musician before, but now she's an art restorer.
Yeah. How do
like,
you get that?
You don't have to be an expert to do that type of stuff, do you?
The thing is, Dana has a fast life though. She's with Peter Venkman, the guy that saved New York 1 minute. Then she's like, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to get married to this other guy," and she's having a baby. She's getting back with Peter.
Yeah, but hang on a minute now. It says in the film she left Peter because he didn't want to get married.
I know that, but like it's just the old fact that it's like it's 5 years, man. For fuck's sake, how fast is this? How fast is this going? Like, you know what I mean? It's just weird.
They could hang on a minute now. Let's say the first film ends, right? And they're together for a year, maybe even 2 years, right? Say they're together for 2 years, right? He doesn't want to get married. So she says, right, well, I want to have a family. So she leaves him after 2 years. Are you honestly saying that in the next 3 years, she can't find someone else and have a child with them?
She can, but that doesn't seem like Dana to me. Like Dana doesn't seem like the kind of woman that gets with a guy and after like 12 months is bitching on him all the time. Like, I want to get married.
It was a rebound, wasn't it?
You know what I mean? It's just like, again, it's that whole thing. In my mind, at the end of the first film, it's happily ever after for everyone, and they just get together.
Yeah, but you haven't been out with Peter Venkman for however long.
Yeah, but he changes at the end of the first film. Like she makes him change.
Does he change?
Yeah, up here at the end, at the end of the great film, when it has that really great shot with it all covered in marshmallow.
I think you're giving that film and his character too much credit there.
Why?
Way too much. There's nothing in the dialogue to suggest that Peter Venkman has changed wholeheartedly as a character at the end of the first film.
Also, everyone loves Peter Venkman. He's adorable, isn't he?
I love to watch him in a film. I wouldn't want to be mates with him constantly for years. He'd infuriate me.
Right, guys, I'm mindful of time. This one's going to go on for ages otherwise. Any other changes? Reel them off. Quick.
Yeah, go on. Hold on. What? When the bathtub gets... All right. Oh, don't blame me.
Evan, we've only got the free Zoom. Come on.
I know, yeah. When the bathtub gets possessed, why have the shot of Sigourney Weaver in her bra?
Why not?
Why not?
Well, that was my only favorite aspect. I'm joking.
It's not needed for me. Ray's shop closes at midnight on Saturdays. Who's going shopping at that time? Let alone bloody anything like occult books wise.
Have you never met a nerd?
I like to think I am a nerd, but I wouldn't go out shopping at bloody midnight.
No, but you've got a family. You wouldn't go out at 11:30 in the night to go to get a book, would you?
And these type of people, I reckon, they're the type that like wake up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and go to bed at like 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Adam.
The court trial with the Scolari brothers. There's no jury in there. Why?
Because it wasn't a jury case.
Yeah, maybe it's like a magistrate in this country.
Ev,
No, because he gets sent to prison.
No, Ev, the only thing what you've done there is, but you every other film you've seen in America that's with a court, it's got a jury. Not all court cases have juries in America.
What, even when they get given custodial sentences. Oh, that's a bit hot.
To be honest, Ev, the fact it's not jury there, it's not the only problem with that court scene. There is a mountain of problems with that scene. That is, I couldn't. The editing of that scene is the worst thing. I was like watching it, going, "What is with this way? This is it. The way this is paced together." Like it kept having wipes and stuff all the time. I was like, "God, this is obviously like they had to find it in the edit sort of thing." But yeah.
So I'm rattling through these because I've been told. There's a lot of looking into the wind in this film. That if you notice all the characters, they do like the.
Well, whenever a ghost comes, wind seems to pick up, doesn't it?
Yeah. But even like Dana, when she's going up the stairs into the museum, she stops twice to look back in the wind. It's like, yes,
yeah, but that's a cinematic shot.
I know.
He's only cursing it because it's not a long shot. If it was a long shot looking into the wind, he'd be all over it.
Exactly. Long shot, fine. But it's short. No.
Can I ask you a quick question? This is aimed at Evan and Andrew, right? Both fathers with babies, right? If a slime monster was trying to get your kids, would you ever leave that baby out of your sight?
No.
Only if Peter Venkman took me to dinner.
But like, she comes home, like she's just like, I'm sorry, but like, I just think that most good parents, which Dana isn't in this film, would just have a baby with them all the time. Like when she's put it in the other bedroom, when Lewis Tully and Janine are over, I'm like, forget about it. That baby would be there like all the time in a crib or something. Like,
yeah, but that's the only that tub is the only time the slime monsters tried to get the baby.
Mate, it shouldn't matter. Like, if a slime monster did it once to my kid, that kid would never go out my sight ever again because
but hang on a minute,
never predict when that's coming back.
Yeah, I no, okay, right. First things first. They at that point they don't know exactly what's going on. So okay, hang on a minute. So they may think that it's just the house or the apartment that's affected. And if she's taking it to Peter Venkman's where nothing has happened, she may feel like she can leave the baby there.
Yeah, I guess, but I still think that like I would not let that baby out of my sight. Like there's no like I just wouldn't. No, and also it happened when she was out and about walking in the beginning. It took a pram down the street everywhere, so it clearly she must know that it's not only the apartment at that point. So
yeah, but there was no slime involved there.
There was. It rolled over the puddle.
Yeah, but she didn't see that. Nobody saw the slime.
Yeah, but it was still buggy going like this way everywhere. So
I get what you're saying, but there was no reason for that happening, was it? They don't know what was going on. That's my point.
Bottom line, and I think we can all agree here, Dana's a terrible mother.
Yeah. So my last one is basically Vigo and like how easy he is to kill, and like if you can imagine that was like a boss level on a game, that would be like boss going, because all you do is just take the piss out of him and then shoot him. And that's
it was harder to get into the museum than it was to kill Vigo.
Yeah, and it's just like, Goza's herself at seeing Vigo, didn't you?
This is my main problem with the film is Vigo as the end bad guy, if you will, and like, what's the relation to the slime in the abandoned underground? That connection and Vigo as a bad guy was that's where the film falls down for me.
Do you guys know why they had to have the slime in the film?
Is it because of the cartoon again?
It's because the merchandise. A lot of the merchandise was tubs of Ghostbusters, like ecto slime and stuff. And
I remember that. Yeah.
So a big thing from the studio was like, put slime in the film. We need slime in that film. So, yeah, thank Columbia.
Is this? Do you reckon this is one of the first times? And obviously, I don't know if any of us are going to know this, but Is this one of the first films that you can remember where you think the studio put pressure on the people making the film?
Not at all. There's always like there's countless amount of films with the studio, especially sequels, where the studio's like, make it more this, though, make it more this and stuff.
Yeah, but can you think of anything that came out before Ghostbusters that would have done that?
I'm sure there's a couple. I can't think of anything off the top of my
Back
head.
to the Future, possibly.
No, Back to the Future was always pretty like they always pretty much had their way, didn't they? Back to the Future.
Oh, when did the He-Man film come out?
That was before this.
87, 86.
Right. Okay. So that would have been one of the first ones then, or that would have been that's before this anyway.
Films ruined by studio control. Let's see what we get.
Oh, yeah. But are you going to get into stuff that's nothing to do with merchandise and just?
We'll see what comes up. 10 times studio interference completely ruined the movie.
Okay,
I'm not going to read them all out. I'm just going to give 10 examples, right? We always do these top 10s on these things, though. First one, there's a mix. There's quite modern films in this as well. But I'm going to read them anyway. Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Yeah.
Alien 3. Now, that had merchandise as well. There was toys of that. I always remember there was Alien toys when I was a kid.
Yeah, but that was ruined because of the plot, wasn't it?
Oh, man. This is a rough one. Highlander 2, The Quickening.
They brought back Sean Connery, didn't they, in that one?
Justice League.
Garbage Patch Kids in it.
I think this is not as.
That was just ruined. Full stop. Never mind the studio.
Blade Runner. Peter went through loads of different cuts. Mission Impossible 2 and Hard Target by John Woo. They both had the same studio interference. Tank Girl, number 4. Number 3 is an anime, Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind, saying he was butchered down by in the West. Dragon Ball Evolution, number 2. And finally, number 1 is The Last Airbender by our friend M. Night Shyamalan.
Okay.
So it's 10 films, but none of them really old. But I should have found. I can't be bothered to find a better list.
No, that's right. I was particularly referencing merchandise or merchandising of the film, as it were, because I know the merchandising only really took off after Star Wars, didn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, the toys. But the thing is, I mean, I think obviously, I don't know how old you guys were when the cartoon came out, but the toys of the cartoon, I had loads of them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had fudge loads of them when I was a kid, and like I had like I had the fire station, the car, all the figures, the guys of the Ghostbusters. I had all of them.
I wonder that, right? When were you born? 89?
I was born in 89. Yeah.
Do you think that you had those toys secondhand?
Maybe, I don't know, but like but Ghostbusters is still huge when I was a kid. It was always on. It was still on TV all the time when I was a kid, and then they brought out Extreme Ghostbusters. Yeah. After Real Ghostbusters, I used to love that as well. And the same goes for Turtles and Ghostbusters, huge. All my friends in school had Ghostbusters toys. It was massive.
We were right.
Did you have Action Force as well, lad?
No.
Yeah,
I used to have the Mask Garage, the big toy, but that was from a car boot sale.
Yeah.
They didn't have it.
Boulder Hill, I think it was called.
Yeah.
I should love Mask. Yeah, we were right in the first wave of Turtles and Ghostbusters.
Thundercats,
He-Man. I used to have the Thundercat sword when I was a kid. I used to have the tapes of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I always remember when Schnarf was on TV. My mother used to be like, "Turn it off! I hate that Schnarf thing." Like, hated Schnarf. My mother hated that cat, Schnarf. I always remember that. And he was annoying looking back at it. So
you've got to have that though. You had the same sort of character in He-Man. Was it Oko or whatever his name is?
Oko, the little like flying magic thing.
Yeah. It was the other one, wasn't it? It was a stupid little green man from Jetsons, and you had that what's his chops? Scrappy Doo.
Oh
wow.
Yeah, Scrappy Doo used to do my head in.
Yeah, he did everyone's head in. No one likes Scrappy Doo.
Well, that's what killed Scooby-Doo in the 80s, wasn't it?
The thing is, all right, I used to watch Scooby-Doo when I was a kid, right? Now, we didn't have Sky until I was about 12, but I was still kind of watching cartoons when I was 12 because I think most kids do, right? And like as soon as I had more choice, I never watched Scooby-Doo again. I never liked Scooby-Doo when I was a kid, but I used to watch it because it was all that was available. Do you know what I mean? It used to annoy the hell out of me. Scooby-Doo
Well, I had a
did.
few VHSs and I loved it, but very similar to you, I suppose. When I had other options, I wouldn't watch it.
Because when you were a kid, if you had whatever cartoons you had at your hand at your disposal, that's what you watched. That's all you could watch. But I remember as soon as I was 12 or 11, we had Sky in the house. Boom, gone. I was all into the Dexter's Lab and stuff then, and all the American cartoons, you know.
Bit too late for us. Right, come on, let's think about wrapping this up. Let's do a couple of facts first. So it had a budget of oh, go on, sorry.
I got one more change. I got one quick change, right? And I need to ask you guys. Now, do you guys all watch American football in you?
Yeah,
I know
sort of.
What did you guys think of the bit? I think I know where I'm going with this. Does Peter Venkman have any other T-shirts in his house? Why is he making his signed, prized New York Jets top? He says was given to him from this woman that actually acquired it from the star player. Why is he giving that to the baby as a nappy?
The only reason he's giving that as a nappy is because it's being filmed.
You know, I was watching it going, like, could I give that as a nappy?
I know.
Doesn't he have anything else around? I was like,
but I also don't know,
for God's sake.
I don't really believe Peter Venkman as well. I don't always believe what comes out of his mouth.
The thing is, right, Joe Namath is one of the most famous football players in New York because the Jets have only ever won the Super Bowl once, and Joe Namath was the quarterback. So I know what Adam's saying here. The fact that Peter Venkman gives Joe Namath's jersey to the kid to P and S on is given that Venkman's basically got dirty shirts lying around everywhere.
Yeah. They're not dirty. You just put them out the window for.
I love the bit in the film.
Different levels, aren't they? They're different levels.
I love the bit as well. This is sorry. I feel like I've been shitting on Dano for this podcast, but the bit when he comes home and he goes, "You've cleaned," and I'm like, "Did she? Flat's a nightmare still." I was like, "What? What did you clean?
Fudge.
Still in...
Fudge.
What?
The fudging flats.
I think. I was going to say this episode's been like therapy for Adam, isn't it? We're getting to like the root cause.
I think the biggest thing from this, the biggest outcome from it should be that Adam should never watch Ghostbusters 2 ever again.
And I never will. I never will. I only watch this because of the podcast, and I never go back to Ghostbusters.
We finally got our own back on him, boys.
I know.
What was your thoughts on the female Ghostbusters?
I don't really have an opinion on it, to be honest. It's not really my film. I mean, there was a lot of hate towards it with it, but like I respect him more than Ghostbusters 2. At least they tried to do something different with it. It's not my kind of comedy. I don't really find it funny.
Did they try and do something different?
Yeah, I mean, they had female Ghostbusters, I guess. I mean,
that's it.
But it's different, isn't it? I mean, at least they tried to make it like more of a goofy comedy, I guess. But like, I respect that more than Ghostbusters 2.
And I gotta say, I don't hate the female Ghostbusters, the 2016 version, but I'm not going to say they tried to do something different.
I saw it in the cinema, that one, and I didn't laugh once. No, I laughed at one part of it. I laughed at the bit where the guy screams. That's the only bit of the film that made me laugh. I always remember that's the only laugh it got out of me. But
you remember guy screaming, or don't know?
I do, yeah. But like that's the only bit. But I still prefer it to number 2.
I've still never seen it.
We had those show film first, like free screenings you get if you apply for free tickets to like preview screenings.
Yeah.
We had that for the female Ghostbusters, and I'm so glad I had it for free because taking out all like the misogynistic vibes that went over Twitter and all that. I don't agree with all that. Just as a film, it was god awful. It was Bridesmaids with poor CGI ghosts.
So you didn't like Bridesmaids?
No, I liked Bridesmaids, but this was just it was almost trying to be like Bridesmaids. It was just the same kind of jokes, and it was just
I don't think it was trying to be Bridesmaids. I think it was Bridesmaids amped up to 11.
Yeah, I mean, like,
and what they were trying to do as well, if you noticed during that film, they were trying to do the ad-libbing. Do you know the ad-libbing that's crept into a lot of comedies in the last 10 to 15 years, where a scene goes on too long and they don't know how to get out of it, so they try and ad-lib their way out of it to a funny conclusion. I noticed there was quite a few scenes in Ghostbusters 2016 like that.
yeah, it was. I don't know. It just wasn't for me. And like the poor CGI at the end with like the balloons for the Marshmallow Man and stuff like. Part of me died inside. It's terrible.
So it goes.
Go on and hand your facts.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Anne.
Yes, I bet we had to get it off your chest. So, budget of 30 to 40 million. I haven't got an exact, so I know that's quite a lot. But it returned 215. So, but yeah, even if it was rubbish, which I know some of the people on this podcast believe it is, it was always going to return a massive amount because
some of the people. Do you mean one?
Adam, one of the people.
No, it was still a flop though because the budget was higher than number one, so it didn't make the same profit as number one. Because I remember
let's hang on. Whoa. Let's not get into what we deem a flop or a success, all right? Because this I think we look at it differently.
Yeah. So let's talk about quickly the Titanic scene. And I know Adam's got an issue with it, but originally they weren't going to use the Titanic. They were going to use the Hindenburg crash as a reference. And the Hindenburg was going to come back.
What, did the Hindenburg crash in New York?
Well, wasn't it on its way to New York? Because didn't the Empire State Building have a platform that would have?
I'm just getting the Hindenburg disaster up now. Hindenburg disaster was New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey, right?
So you would have seen it over the river.
But yeah, supposedly the Empire State Building has a platform that the Hindenburg would have, landed at, docked at, and I'm talking near the top of the building.
Have you ever seen the footage of the Hindenburg?
Yeah. You see how fast it goes up? It's unbelievable.
That to me, right? That's one of the most frightening things I've ever seen.
But if you're gonna go, you want to go something like that though. Surely it'll be over quickly.
What is it? Is it a plane or a hot air balloon?
It's a blimp sort of thing.
It's a blimp.
It's a blimp, and the hydrogen catches fire.
It's
Have you ever listened to Led Zeppelin?
Well, it's a Zeppelin, isn't it? That's what it's called.
Yeah, it's like the front. They use the image on the front cover of one of the albums, don't they?
Ev, I'm not kidding you, but there's footage on YouTube of the actual Hindenburg disaster, and it's horrific. You can actually see people on the ground, and it gives the scale of how big the blimp is and how fast it's going at. It's incredible.
That's mad. The term proton pack was never used prior to halfway through this movie, where Egon says in the subway, "We've got to go back for the proton packs."
Do they, what, in the first one, and they just call them the packs, do they, or the units or something?
They call them something else, I think.
Nuclear accelerator.
An unlicensed nuclear accelerator. Yeah. So anyway, that's the last fact I've got. So always ask the final question. Would you recommend? Let's start with Adam. Get him out of the way.
Just not only would I not recommend it, I would just say if someone said I've just seen Ghostbusters 1, should watch number 2, I'd say it doesn't exist. Just pretend it doesn't exist and just have the end of the first one. It's not a film. There's no such thing as Ghostbusters 2. That's my answer.
Ev?
I would, but watching it back now, I don't love it as much as I did when I was a kid. If that makes any sense.
Rog?
I reckon Evan's on the road I was on. He's starting to see now. I mean, if we
He's
do
going
this,
to decline.
I reckon if Evan had answered after me and Andrew answered, he would have answered differently.
He swayed so easily.
He does, yeah. Like a flag in the wind, anyway.
Go on, Ev.
It's peer
Evan,
pressure. I can't.
give it a no. Give it a no. Go on.
No. I'm gonna give it a yes. I'm gonna give it a yes. Stick to me guns. But like I said, I've fallen a little out of love with the film. It will never surpass. Number one is pure gold.
I reckon if you'd watched it not with your girls, you would have enjoyed it more.
I reckon if you'd watched it in one sitting, Ev, you might have liked it.
No, I did this in one sitting actually.
If you'd watched it on his own, though, if you had watched it alone, would you have got past the crystal ball scene? That's all I'm going to say.
If you're really big into Annie Potts, you should watch a film called Who's Harry Crumb. Because she's very she's let's just say she's sexified the character.
Sexified in this, but that costume department knew what they were doing.
Frog, what about you, buddy?
I would recommend it. Yeah, to me, I just enjoy being in the character's company for another couple of hours. Yes, it's not perfect. There are problems with it, but I still enjoy watching it. And I personally, I like the subtle humor of this film.
I haven't seen it in a number of years, and I really enjoyed watching it. It was, as Prog sort of said, like being back with old mates. That's what it felt like with me, and I sort of smiled throughout. So I really enjoyed it, and for that reason, yeah, I'd recommend it. So before we log off, we're going to pick next week's film. And Adam, I'm hoping you've got a generator that you can get to hand.
Look, can I send you the link to it? Because then you can get it up on the screen. Because last time, I think the viewers will want to see it.
Can't you just share you a screen?
I could, yeah.
Come on.
Take the name out of the hat.
It's like random.
Get a porn off your screen, Ad.
Yeah.
Let me just click all these tabs.
Yeah. Close that dwarf porn. You'll be fine.
Okay. Annie Potts, naked.com. I'm off that now.
Only because I'll have to then input the names of these films on screen.
Oh my god!
And
not even that.
saved
the exact list.
The spelling of my my film input will be terrible.
Okay,
we're doing a brand new list on brand new films.
Can you give me permission to share the screen?
Oh, sorry.
So me and Adam were talking about this. If you want to put the same films forward, you're welcome.
How I do this?
But if you want to change one, you can.
Okay, so the rules are, we talked about this over the text, but this is for the purpose of the listener. We all choose 2 films each, but we have to have the booby film in there, which is Mac and Me. But currently, Mac and Me is the sort of booby choice, which if we get that, we have to watch it. But we will. So the crap film has to stay the same until it comes out of the hat, but our films can always change.
But if the crap film comes out, we then have to pick another crap film. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Replace it with another. But
also, I've already got another crap film lined up.
Okay. I'll have the next one then after that.
Also, we can never veto each other's choices. So, like, if Evan turned around and was like, "I want to watch, like, I don't know, Toxic Avenger 2," no one could be like, "No, you can't pick that. You have to."
No one's ever picking that, Dad.
I know we're not, but it's an example. That's the worst film example I can think of. Okay, for that fit. So, and don't worry, I'm not going to pick Toxic Avenger 2, but yet anyway. I mean, I did just watch Ghostbusters 2 again. Can I share screen yet? By the way.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Can you all see my screen now?
Oh,
yeah.
Hey.
Right. So I'm going to put my first. I'm going to pick. I'm going to go with Dirty Harry, like I did last week, and I'm going to go with Gremlins 2 because we were talking about that.
I love Gremlins 2. Ev, what about you?
I'm going to go with The Paper, like I went with last week, and Who's Harry Crumb.
Oh, Annie Potts is getting a revisit.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Frog?
You know what? I really want to go for some left field choices here.
Go on, but
I'm going to go 9.5 weeks.
Okay, now.
A porn podcast.
Shall I go for another one? That's like a
Basic Instinct.
Well, I was going to say Boxing Helena, but I don't want to watch that again. I'm going to go David Cronenberg's Crash.
All right. Andrew Owen.
Romance in the Stone.
Oh.
And Young Blood.
What's Youngblood?
Ice hockey
Is that
movie.
Oh, is that the Rob Lowe one?
Yeah.
Right.
So-
hang on a minute. Last week, someone had Ronin in. Who put Ronin in?
That was me.
Oh.
That was me. But I kept it. Yeah, you can't change it now. That's it. Maybe Ronin will come out next week. But right, pick a random film. Everyone ready? Happy to
Yeah.
press the button?
Yeah, go on then.
Oh, look at this. Animation as well.
Nice.
Don't be 9.5 weeks.
Youngblood.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's it. Youngblood. Can't, that's it now. We're locked into it. So Youngblood's next film.
There we go. And on that note, ta-ra everybody, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers all.
Bye.